What if the work-life balance that you're chasing is something you never fully figure out? What if the frustration that you feel isn't because you're doing it wrong, but because you're living slightly out of alignment? You know that feeling when your car is out of alignment? It drives, it still moves, but it pulls, and you're constantly correcting. Well, that's what misalignment feels like in leadership too. You're functioning, you're responsible, you're productive, but you're tired in a way that sleep just doesn't fix. You start projects with energy, but you struggle to sustain them. You agree to things in the moment and then feel a heaviness afterward. You look at your calendar and think, why does this feel so full and still not fulfilling? You're making progress, but you just don't have any momentum. You're busy, but you're not steady. And in a word, you're depleted. And depletion is dangerous because depleted leaders, they don't make bold decisions. They make safe ones. They don't lead from conviction. They lead from survival. And when things break externally, plans, expectations, momentum, that internal misalignment gets louder. In every season of life, leadership, or transition, things break. Plans, expectations, relationships, and sometimes what breaks isn't visible, it's internal. And this series is about choosing perspective, anchoring in truth, and living and leading from purpose when things don't go as planned. So today we're going to dig deeper into purpose because you can filter your thoughts, you can focus on what's true, and you can manage your time great. But if you don't know who you are designed to be, friend, you will still feel off. Can I be honest with you? If I'm not careful, I have a tendency to keep adding things. I say yes a lot, adding opportunities, commitments, responsibilities. Well, those aren't bad things. They're usually good things. But what I've started noticing is that the more I add, the more scattered I feel. The more I say yes, the more irritated that I can become. And in that irritation, I snap at small things. I even feel annoyed at responsibilities that I once prayed for. I can look at my schedule and feel overwhelmed instead of excited. And that scares me because then I start wondering, well, what's wrong with me? I mean, I could not figure it out. I didn't understand it. I love serving. I love my people. But what I eventually realized after discovering my purpose was that I was doing things that weren't aligned with how I was designed to lead. I wasn't failing. I was just out of alignment. And misalignment doesn't just exhaust you, it shrinks you. It makes you second guess your gifts, and it makes you question your calling. It makes you wonder if maybe you're just not cut out for more. The problem wasn't capacity, it was clarity. And a lack of clarity is just exhausting. Not because you're weak, but because you're pulling against your design. So if you stay with me, you'll walk away with 3 leadership keys to leading from your purpose. They are: understanding why balance is actually an alignment issue. You'll have understanding on how your purpose creates conviction in your leadership. And you'll know that first step to take to discovering your purpose and the way that you were uniquely designed to lead and to serve. Because balance isn't something that you achieve. It's something that happens when you're aligned. And that leads to our first leadership key to leading from your purpose. Balance is actually an alignment issue. When you feel constantly exhausted or scattered or just slightly off, well, the problem usually isn't your schedule. It's that something in your life or your leadership is pulling against your design, which raises an important question. What is purpose really? Well, because culture has certainly made this confusing. Purpose is not your job title. It's not your role. It's not the relationships that you have. Purpose is not your productivity, your visibility, the likes that you get, the followers that you have. It's not even your potential. Those are all good things. But the problem is that when we don't know our purpose, we start letting other things and other people define it for us. Like I said, culture will happily assign you a purpose. Your boss will, your family will, your calendar will, and your social media will. If you don't define it, you'll spend the rest of your life fulfilling expectations that were never yours to fill. So let's define it clearly. Culture defines purpose as a reason for being. Well, that's just too vague to lead with. So here's a better definition. Purpose is the best of what you have to help others and experience fulfillment. It's how you uniquely help others. It shows up in how you serve in a way that aligns with your skill set. It shows up in how you approach and solve problems. Purpose shapes your values and your beliefs, which means it also shapes your decisions. Are you starting to see how that could change your leadership? Purpose changes what you say yes to. It changes what you release. It changes how you show up. If one of your core values is connection, but your schedule is filled with isolated tasks, you will feel just drained. If you're wired to build and to create, but you are constantly maintaining and managing, well, you're going to feel stuck. And if you're designed to mentor and to develop others, but you are buried in administrative details, you're going to feel frustrated. So here's a leadership truth. When your calendar is full of things that don't align with your design, you feel drained. When your leadership doesn't reflect your wiring, you feel friction. And when your yes isn't rooted in purpose, resentment creeps in. You can't system your way out of misalignment because alignment brings balance, not perfection. Alignment creates a steadiness. It takes the best of what we have to offer and it optimizes it for your current situation. Alignment brings confidence in that next step. And our next step is our second leadership key to leading from your purpose. It's that purpose creates the conviction in your leadership. When you know who you are designed to be and how you're designed to help others, something just shifts internally. You stop chasing motivation and you start leading from conviction. Ephesians tells us that we are God's workmanship, created for good works, prepared in advance. That word workmanship means intentional design. You weren't meant to copy someone else. You weren't meant to build a life on comparison. You were created with a uniqueness that no one else has. While someone else may do similar work, no one can do what you do, the way that you do it. And when you don't know your uniqueness, you'll try to carry everything else. But when you do, you start asking questions, better questions. Questions like, is this aligned with how I'm designed? Does this energize the best of what I bring? Or is this someone else's assignment? You see, purpose doesn't remove responsibility. It removes the unnecessary weight. It helps you decide where to focus your energy. It helps you grow in the right direction, and it helps you connect with what truly fulfills you. It improves how you communicate with your team, with your family, and even yourself. And it opens the door to teach and develop others. Purpose provides clarity and certainty. Purpose opens the door to legacy, to meaning. When you know and live from your purpose, you begin making decisions based on conviction, not motivation. There's a big difference. You see, motivation is emotional. It comes and it goes, and some days you feel it, and some days you just don't. Motivation can inspire you to start something, but it rarely sustains you when things get difficult, and they will. You see, conviction is different. Conviction is that unreasonable certainty that what you're doing is right and worth it. Conviction is what allows you to say no to an opportunity that looks impressive because you know it's not aligned. Conviction helps you stay committed in a season that feels slow because you know that it's necessary. Conviction allows you to invest in growth even when the results aren't immediate. Conviction is what steadies you when motivation fades. And if you don't know your purpose, you'll keep pivoting and call it flexibility, but it's actually uncertainty. You see, conviction in what you're created to do empowers you to act. We can't talk about purpose and fulfillment without talking about conviction, because conviction leads to action, and conviction comes from clarity. Clarity about who you are, your purpose, clarity about how you are designed to help others, clarity about what's actually yours to carry. Otherwise, you'll borrow conviction from other people's expectations. Once you know your purpose and determine your direction, from direction comes conviction, and from conviction flows action. It's not the idea that produces success. It's the action fueled by conviction. You see, conviction creates momentum, and momentum creates movement. And we're moving into that third key to leading from your purpose. It's found in clarity. Clarity is that first step in your alignment. You cannot lead from something you've never defined. And that's where so many capable women get stuck. See, most women don't lack purpose. They lack clarity around their purpose. You can't align your decisions to something that you've never articulated. But clarity gives you that language. And language gives you confidence. Before I had clarity, I made decisions based on fear. Well, fear of missing out, fear of disappointing people, fear of not measuring up, fear of failing. But it's after clarity that I started asking myself a different question. Is this aligned? It's that one shift that changed everything. You see, confidence simplifies decisions, and simplified decisions reduce exhaustion. And this is where the purpose factor comes in. It gave me a framework for making decisions aligned with who I am and my purpose, instead of making those decisions out of fear. I became certified in the purpose factor because I saw how many capable women were misaligned, just like me. Not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked clarity. So let me ask you this. What decision are you postponing right now because you don't feel certain? Are you exhausted because you're doing too much, or because you're doing what isn't yours? See, misalignment costs you. It costs you energy. It costs you confidence. It costs you momentum. It costs you opportunities that you second guess. It costs you clarity in the decisions that matter. And over time, it costs you impact. So let's bring this home, friend. Leading from your purpose changes everything. It changes how you evaluate opportunities. It changes how you make decisions. It changes what you carry and what you release. Because when you understand your design, you stop trying to do everything and you start focusing on the things that you were uniquely created to do. And that's where steadiness returns. Because when you don't know your purpose, you underlead your potential. That's the real cost. The assessment will cost you time. It will probably cost you money, and it will require honesty, but staying misaligned, what does that cost you? So if you're asking, do I matter? Does my work matter? What's next for me? This isn't just another tool. This is the foundation for everything that's next. Because if your leadership isn't built on clarity, it will be built on comparison. If your decisions aren't built on design, they will be built on pressure. And pressure-driven leadership eventually collapses. But clarity-driven leadership endures. The purpose factor assessment is not about labeling you. It's about laying a foundation for how you lead, how you decide, how you grow, what you pursue, and what you release. You cannot build an aligned leadership on an unidentified identity. And this is where it starts. Once you take the assessment, you can book a coaching session with me to walk through your results. Because discovery is powerful, but application is transformational. In that session, we translate your purpose into strategic decisions, leadership alignment, career clarity, boundaries with conviction. This is about building from the right foundation. When you don't know your purpose, you chase balance. When you know your purpose, you create it. Alignment changes how you decide. Alignment changes how you lead. Alignment changes what you carry. Alignment changes what you release. Alignment changes everything, and clarity is the foundation. The question isn't whether you have a purpose. You were created with it. The question is whether you're leading from it.